Stonecutters Podcast. Aaron Hagens
Will Catlett,
in the building.
what's going on, good brother?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. It's good. I just want to say congratulations, brother. We have been consistent.
Absolutely.
We have been consistent. This is where I need my bell at. Ding, 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 ding,
Ding,
ding,
ding,
ding,
ding, ding,
ding,
ding.
ding,
Okay,
ding.
bell.
Bell. I need a bell.
Ding, ding. Yeah, man. It actually feels good to check back in and just continue to stay intentional and just like what I can say is that like the more and more that we do this, the more and more that it becomes a part of the routine, and it's ingrained, and I start to have more energy, as it gets closer to the time when I'm just like, okay, me and Will are going to chop it up. It's going to be good. So,
Right.
Will, what's been new with you since the last time we spoke? Any updates?
Yeah. Besides practicing social distancing, I shot an interview today with about 5 people. Some things that will be released later on down the road once everything passes through and the industry is back up and running. Because what we were talking about offline, it's the perfect time to store up content. It's the perfect time to, get ready for when the wave does come, as everybody's in this transitional period, so I've been putting things in a pipeline. So when the time comes around, I can release these things, online or to different television platforms, just talking about how to break into the industry, things that I'm doing right now. So that's what's new with me. Also, my daughter's getting ready to be 1 on Sunday.
Wow.
She took 3 or 4 steps today.
Oh, wow.
So she's doing her thing, and so that's what's been going on my end. What about you?
On my end, we are on day 3 of homeschool, Marin school. WFH, work from home.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's been interesting and really refreshing to sort of step outside of my normal routine and just have to change up when I wake up and sort of how I get into my work groove and how I get things done. And then it's really been awesome just being around my wife and my daughter for probably maybe the past 5 or 6 days now. And yeah, man, it's just it's put a lot of things into perspective, and been very thankful for the family and the friends that I have. Really thankful for you for continuing with the podcast and just being somebody that is always there to sort of bounce ideas off of. So like when you were talking about there, like storing things up, like within the past week or so, like I've just been chipping away and knocking off these little projects, or like I ripped a pair of pants and I finally got a chance to like stop and take the time to take out the sewing machine and sew the pants and fix the pants. So it's like, it's really, right now, like we're in like this period where we have the time. We've never really had this time before. Right.
Right. I mean, cause in America, you work, we don't get like a month off, 2 weeks off, so this is the actual best time that you can, finish the things that you started, things that you've written in your journal. And even if it's simple, just to better your relationship with your spouse, so that's hold on one second, babe. Baby got a call, babe. I'm live, babe. Okay, so it's the best. This is the best time to nurture your relationship. You know what I'm saying? So, which
case in point.
So any type of holes that you may have in your marriage or with your children. I mean, this is a good time to sit down, talk with them, and spend that quality time. Build. It's a good time to build. Just don't waste this time. Don't be so focused on the crisis that's going on in the world. All you can do is pray and build for the future, you know. So that's what I'm focusing on. And, you know, well, what does that look like, Aaron? You know, since people usually don't work from home, not all of us, we usually go to a 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
How would you systematically give something to the people, like what your day can be like, so that you're making sure that you're staying on course, you're staying on task to be intentional about birthing some things during this time?
Well, I would probably the one thing that you are really good at doing, which is getting up early. So I would, if you get an opportunity to work from home, if your job allows it, to sort of build a day and build a structure, it really starts with getting up early. And that's something that I'm having to adjust a little bit with in this past week, but really starting your day early. And the earlier that you can start the day, because then and we've talked about this in the past, the earlier that you can start the day and you can become productive and get things done and
Mm-hmm.
allocate whatever time you need, whether you need like an hour to plan things out and to organize the day, and then you need to have 15 minutes to get this task done, or you need to have a half an hour to get this task done. Starting
Mm-hmm.
early and developing a plan early is really what you want to do. And really, if you're getting up earlier, if you're getting up between 5 and 6, whatever it is, you want to try to take that first hour to first 2 hours, and that's really like you're going to be like when you're planning things and you're putting things together.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get dressed. I read it everywhere that if you're working from home, you need to dress like you're still going into work, and you need to build some normalcy into your day and getting
Mm-hmm.
dressed. And even if you have a workspace that's, if you live in a studio or you live in a one bedroom and you don't have a big place, you still need to create a space to work in. So getting dressed is the first step. The second one is to create a workspace and to have a place that you can call your office, at least for that period of the day. With everything that I'm reading, there's flexibility, and there's, your workspace can change.
Mm-hmm.
So, like maybe you want to sit down in the first part of the day, and then later on in the day you want to stand up. One of the things that I have been reading a lot about is taking between 15 and 30 minutes per day and try to get some exercise, whether it's just doing some stretching, um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, walking around, walking in circles, doing jumping jacks, getting
Mm-hmm.
getting the blood flowing, and getting just everything moving through. Because working from home, you're not walking as much as you would normally in your day-to-day job. So
Mm-hmm.
you still need to stay active, like because your body needs to stay active, get your blood flowing into your brain and everything. So
Yeah, that's good stuff right there. Also, you know, like our gym is closed. Like a lot of the gyms are closed. So I got a guy, shout out to Bully Juice on YouTube, because all his workouts require no weights.
okay, bully juice.
Bully Juice, shout out to Bully Juice. Bully Juice over here get me together. So, you know, find creative ways to work out. You know, sometimes if you got all the people bought all that water, you know, you can lift those cases, you know, to use those things. So just take advantage of the opportunity. You know, there's always opportunity. We just got to take advantage of it, because when the tide rolls back out, it's gonna be time to go. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be time. It's gonna be time to go.
Yeah, I have an accountability partner, Kennard, and he sends me these Nike Training Club. He sends me a workout. He sends me one every
Mm-hmm.
day, and he's just like, "Here you go, Aaron. Here's your workout for today." So there's
Right.
lots of different ways that you can stay active and get things done. So, Will, we were talking about nurturing relationships, and I just wanted to, talk about that a little bit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the past 3 or 4 days now, I've like reached out to a lot of different people over text message, called a few people just to sort of see how people are doing and just like reconnect with people, because like that time that we keep talking about, like to build and develop these relationships is so powerful and important.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to add to that?
No. No, no, you're right. You know, call people that you haven't spoken to in a while. I need to call my boy that watches the podcast. That watches the podcast. He watches and he listens to the podcast. My boy Kendrick, because he always send me text messages about, y'all said buy a pair of shoes to your destiny. That was hard, So, just making sure that you keep it in touch with people and checking in on people, nurturing relationships, and just being a good person, checking in on everyone. And the key thing that you can do right now is not to be selfish and make sure that you share. What do I mean by that? When you check in on somebody, they might not say it, but they may not have money for food during this time. They may not have money for rent during this time. So be a blessing, check on somebody and say, hey man, is there anything that you need? Can I send you a book from Amazon? Can I send you a few dollars to make sure that your family has the groceries?
Mm-hmm.
I may not have your whole rent, but I may be able to get you $500 towards your rent. Different things that you can do to just be of service to people. I think that's important.
Okay, so Will, like on that regard, like how can people be of service to the podcast besides listening and subscribing and sending in comments? For you specifically, how can people support you in a time period like this when there might not be work or work might not be coming in? How can people help?
Oh, you can send me like $1 million to my Cash App. You know what I mean? I'll take that. I got a daughter and a wife. Nah. No. Black Lightning is on Netflix. People can go binge that. The numbers are always good when you do that. It keeps the show going, and when that show's back up and running, also, it increases visibility. You can actually, hit me with some good thank you comments, stay the course, Will, we keep inspiring us, things like that, they can sew into the podcast, we live through this experience, but this experience isn't for free, that's another way for us to do more things. I really want to get our Stonecutters, journals, the pocket ones that Aaron carried that you can create so you can always be ready to jot down those ideas. We want to get some shirts done when that time happens. Aaron wears these funky glasses and pants. We need to get the Stonecutters pants and the glasses. All these things will come, But, if you hear something that you feel that moves you, it's always good to sew into that because we're operating with a grace to lead people to the next level. And I think that's how you can support me, during this time. What about yourself, Aaron?
I think I look at the numbers. So I look at our podcast numbers. So I see that the number of people that are listening to the podcast is up. The number of devices that listen to our podcast is up. The average amount of time that people listen to the podcast is up. So
nice.
All these things are positive. So I would just continue to tell people to tell somebody. If you think the podcast has been of any benefit to you, let us know. Shoot us a message. Ask us a question. I think me and Will, we speak collectively or we speak on topic or on point a lot of times, but there's also times when me and Will look at things with different perspectives. So any real support is good support. People can sew into the podcast by listening, subscribing, reposting. That's www.stonecutterspodcast.com, Stonecutters Podcast on iTunes, Stonecutters Podcast on YouTube, on Stitcher. You can leave us a message on our website.
You know what we not on? Because I met a guy, and he has a podcast, and we're not on Google Podcast.
What?
Yeah, he's like, he was trying, because he had an Android. He didn't have an iPhone. And I said, oh man, we got to get on Google. We got to be everywhere, brother. We got to be everywhere.
The time is now. It's like
the time is now. So we got to definitely get on Google for sure.
Sharpen the sword. Like I was watching a video last week of when Kobe ruptured his Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to think back to then, like when he wasn't able to do what he does, right?
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't play basketball. Like, what was he doing with his time? He was watching film, or he was learning something, or he was strengthening his hands. So it's like, to think about like all the things that we have going, like to just add another facet to the podcast, whether it's putting us on a different platform, or putting us everything on YouTube, or breaking out all of the episode links on the YouTube page, like just all these different things. Like, the time is really now to sort of expand on those things, and to master some of those things.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't want to sit on the things that God has given you. This is an opportunity. I can't stress it enough. This is an opportunity. It's like we're gonna take advantage of the opportunity. When the good brother said that we wasn't on Google Play, I said, "Oh, I gotta talk to my boy. We gotta get on Google Play." Go back and revisit your journal. Revisit the ideas that you wrote 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. And sometimes, Aaron, we write things down. The vision can be so big that it kind of go to the back of the closet with the dust on the box.
Yeah.
But remember what we said in one of our podcasts, it's the compounding method. It's little by little. So break that vision down. What can you do to add to that vision on a small level today on a small level that will pay dividends in the future? Not just in money, but just in you birthing that idea out. I was doing the interview today. My buddy James Blandy asked me, why does Will act? And I said, if I don't act, you don't breathe. And I know it's a very provocative statement to say, like, well, if we'll stop acting, then we're going to suffocate. But you got to think about it. Everything is at service. If the trees don't show up today, we cannot breathe the oxygen in the air. Every person has a measure of breath inside of them for other people. So when Aaron goes and becomes this person at Nike, he becomes a gate to let other people in. So if Aaron doesn't become Aaron, if he doesn't do what he's called to do, the people that are tied to Aaron suffocate because he is their breakthrough. Once you realize that, you understand the statement, if I don't act, you don't breathe, is because all the people that's supposed to come through the gate of Will Catlett, all the people that's supposed to be inspired, all the people that have dreams that's supposed to be reignited or supposed to work with me, or I'm supposed to give them jobs, if I don't go do what I'm called to do, then I'm suffocating their dreams. I'm not allowing them to breathe that fresh air and that oxygen. So that's why it's important in this time to not sit on the things that you're supposed to do. And we have to remind ourselves too, like, hey, Will, listen, come on now, you got to be on it. That's why it's so important.
And to be mindful too, that there's a put off list, or a list that's a to-do list that we continuously put off. When you've returned and when you revisit it, be mindful that when you read something, or when you read a task, or when you see it again for the first time, subconsciously your mind is going to tell you that you still don't have time for it, or this isn't the right time for it, or you don't have that particular skill that you need. And that's the critic that's popping in there, because it's like, hey, you've put it off for this long, just keep putting it off longer. And it's like, you have to be mindful of that, and it's going to creep in with every little thing that's going to be on that to-do list. But it's like with everything that you complete, or that you break down, and that you break down into 2 or 3 steps and then you complete, that's when the compounding takes over. And it's like, oh, it feels good. It felt great when we first met in January, and then we met for the whole month of February. And now that we're, in the middle of March, and we're like on the 9th or the 10th week in a row that we've connected, like you just keep doing that and keep doing that. It just feels better and better every time. So.
Exactly. I was just thinking, it took me back to when I was in college, when I was talking about the breath, right? I remember my boy Kendrick. I had just discovered poetry, that I had the skills to do poetry, to write poetry. And I was spitting one of my poems to him, and then he spit his. And his was so it was like, wow. And I was like, man, I got to get my weight up. But see, he was giving me breath. If he never spoke his poetry, I wouldn't have had room to grow, to want to get better, to want to dive in. The way he put words together, the way he said it, his conviction was the life. It was giving me air to breathe. That's why I said, man, I got to get my weight up, man. I got to go back to the drawing board. It's like what you said a long time ago when we did a video on you. The way you design footwear should cause a person to make a jacket better, to cause a person to act better, to cause a chef to cook better. You're giving life. It's so important for the stonecutters that listen to us to understand the value of what you carry inside of you. It's tied to more people than just yourself. You got to wake up to your dream. You got to wake up to your vision. You got to wake up and not sit on the things that are given to you, because people are depending on you to show up. How am I get my Nike shoe if Aaron don't go work for Nike? So this is why it's important, man. The stonecutter, let's because some people just coming on listening. Break down how we came up with the name Stonecutters.
The name comes from it comes from a man named Jacob Riis, and he was an author the turn of the century, back in the 1900s. I want to say. Anyway, he had a quote, and the quote was, I want to make sure that I say it the right way. Sometimes when things are tough, I look at a stonecutter hammering away at a rock, and he'll hit it, over 100 times without as much as a crack showing. But on the 101st blow, it splits into two. And I know that it wasn't the last hit that caused it to split. So I'm kind of jumbling it up a little bit. But the point is that, like, it's really about chipping away at the rock and putting and loving the process of really trying to remove, the stone and to refine it, to get ourselves to a place where we are, the best version of ourselves. So when we talk about stonecutters, like, we really want people to be about action, because a stonecutter isn't somebody who hits a rock once a day. It's somebody who hits a rock hundreds of times a day. And each one of those strikes of the hammer and each one of those hits of the rock is an action. And we talk to people all the time about taking action and doing all these different things. And me and you, Will, we've been able to take plenty of different actions, thousands of different actions, and we've been able to see the rewards. We've been able to see the rock fall away. Right. But we're talking to people that may have only hit the stone 50 times. And it's not going to break until it's not going to split in two the first time. It's not going to do that until you hit it at least over 100 times. So that's what we're about, is we're just about trying to get people to continuously chip away at the rock, stay consistent, be intentional, bring joy, be generous, be positive, look out for one another. Yeah.
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff.
I know I'll put you on the spot, brother, but you came through in the clutch, with the stonecutters, because that's important. Some people, or some of us, and we all been there at times in life where we think we think that we hit the rock enough and the rock didn't crack open. So we stop hitting the rock. And that rock could be your dream, your passion, or what you're supposed to be doing. And people usually give up right before the rock was getting ready to crack open. But the key is to stick around long enough to meet your opportunity. So you got to keep hammering at the rock, because eventually the rock will crack, and you can't worry about how many blows it took. It's like a person mining for diamonds. They find a lot of rocks that are not diamonds. But when they find that one, their eyes light up. So keep hammering away at the rock, because it has no choice but to break, and that's what it's about of being a stone cutter. We making stone cutters out here. That's what we doing, good brother. We making stone cutters, and it makes me think about this. Why I like doing the podcast, because it makes me think about the things that I need to hammer at some more. I might have gave up on that. Come on, Will, pick back up the chisel and the hammer and get back to working, get back to working, get back to working.
But on that aspect too, like to just go into a deeper metaphor, you have a rock, you're chiseling away, you're making a face. You're a sculptor and you're making a face. You use a certain type of tool for the rough rock to break off the big slabs that are on the edges. But as you get closer and closer into the face, you have to use smaller, more refined tools to create the features of the face so that it looks realistic, or that it looks whichever kind of way that you want to artistically create it. But the point there is that it takes different types of tools. So not only is it about the number of actions or the number of times that you chisel away at it, but it's also about do you have the right tool for the right application? Are you learning what you need to be learning right now? Are you hitting it with the right tool, or are you hitting it with the wrong tool?
Woo! I like that. That's good, brother. That's good. So it kind of sums up everything that we've been speaking about to take advantage at this time. Sharpen your tools, get more tools, reevaluate the tools that you have, because you need the right tools for the journey that you're getting ready to embark on.
Are you reading anything new right now?
I just had the wife order me a book called Heartcore. It's about service. So I'm going to read that book. So it should be in here in a couple of days.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Will, time's up, man.
Oh, man, time is up already? I was just getting started, brother. The river of joy was just starting to flow. Man, look here, man. I love you. It's always good to see you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of us. And I just want to thank all the people that have been listening, that's been following the journey, and it's the Stonecutters Podcast, man.